Today we're going to start working in vector art. I'm going to go down to grab Adobe Illustrator down there and create new. And up here I'm going to go to print. This is very much like InDesign. And if you look over here, you're going to see that we have the option to change it to points and go from points to inches or picas, but we're going to work in points. Orientation is portrait, but we want to go in landscape for this particular logo. And we'll be working in letter, like I said, but tabloid is also an option. That's 11 by 17. It's a pretty standard format size, and we'll use that down the road. But for today, we're doing letter, and we're going to go with one artboard. An artboard is another way of saying multiple pages. But we're only going to be working with one page today, and that's going to be fine. We're not going to be using a bleed, so you don't have to concern yourself with that. We're going to be working on something called a spot drawing, or a spot drawing is anything that you can pick up and place somewhere else without any regard for the edge of the picture plane. A logo in this instance. Create. Okay. So now that I've got the artboard up, this is the artboard printable area. This is the negative space over here where if you want something that you're working on, you don't want it to print, you drag it out here. Okay. We will go and reset our workspace, and I like to go with Essentials Classic because it's been around for a while and it gives you all your preset tools all at once. Now don't be overwhelmed by the number of tools that you see, because you're going to be using a handful of these every day 99% of the time, and there's a few that you might use from time to time but not every day. They're just options in case for some reason you need to use those that particular day. Okay, so first thing we need to do is I'm going to go and show you that we need to find that file that needs to be redrawn, file place. And I'm going to the desktop and I'm looking for the swoosh, and I will place that image. Now, in InDesign, which you guys have previously worked in, spacebar so that I can get my hand tool, and the black arrow, like in InDesign, works as the hand in the program. So if I click and hold the click and I hit my shift key, I can constrain the proportion so I don't end up stretching it out. Control Z or Command Z if you're in the Mac environment. And the Control X will cut this image. Control 0 will center the artboard. Control V will put the artwork that we just cut directly in the center. So that's the way we get started here. Now the other thing is that we want to go to our layers and get set with layers. Layers is a huge part of every program that we've worked in so far. And so layers is right here. I can grab layers and move it around. I can drag the corner to make it longer or shorter. And this represents, this has got a blue bounding box. We spoke of the bounding box being what you use to scale things up or down. And the bounding box is blue, and that's stipulated by the fact that layer 1 is color coded with blue. So I'm going to double click here and name this image. Click here on a new layer, and I'm going to lock the image because I don't want this to move around on me. Okay? Layer 2. Layer 2 is where I get started. So there's my pen tool. The pen tool is what you use primarily in Illustrator for precision purposes. There's something called the anchor point, and that's when we click. It says add anchor point tool, delete anchor point tool, anchor point tool. We're working with the pen tool. You never really have to go back down to this to go and choose these tools because they're automated within the Bezier Pen tool. So the pen tool is a click, 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 and you always want to be sure to go and close your shape. When that circle shows up, that means that you've successfully completed the shape. And like in InDesign, you come over here and you can find the swatches palette and you can add a color. X will toggle between the stroke and the fill color. The black arrow, again, will grab the entire file piece of the subject. I can get the bounding box and I can elongate, stretch it, whatever I want to do, or I can hit the shift key to constrain. The white direct selection tool, letter A, I can go and I can grab one anchor point and I can move the anchor point. Now if you notice, if we go to our layers, it's difficult to see the anchor point on the corner here because layer 2 is color coded with red. So I'm going to double click on this, and that gets me to this, and I can go here and change it to the color of my choice. Or I can double click in here and I can go get a custom color. I can go with a tint or a shade of that particular color. So you can go and customize the layer colors that you use. I'm happy with this color, so I'm going to go there. Hit OK to that. And now it's easier to see the anchor points. So if it's a hollow anchor point, meaning it's a white fill on the anchor point, then it's not selected. If it's solid like this one is, however, you can select it and move it around. And that's that for now. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to get started on my pen tool. Now we clicked and clicked and clicked, and we created shapes, or a shape. Delete, delete. But what we want to do is we want to replicate this Nike swoosh, and with that I have to click and drag to get anchor points. Clicking and dragging, clicking and dragging. Come back here and I can close this shape. That's what I would call a smooth anchor point. Now every time I start this, I go with the white arrow first, then I go to my pen tool, and the reason for it is because if I hit the control key, it will toggle to the last tool I had selected prior, and that helps me to reshape or move the handle points, or to grab the anchor point and reposition that. And that's where you get some flexibility with this drawing. Okay? But notice, can I get a sharp cut like this or a sharp change of direction with this? No, I can't. If you made really small, Control Option Spacebar will get you to zoom in with the marquee. If I come in here and I get the plus showing up, that means that I can add an anchor point there. And if I hit, again, the Command key, it gets me the direct selection tool. So I can click on this arrow and I can move it in and I can get it to be kind of pointy there, but that's defeating the purpose that I have for today. We want a sharp, pointy change of direction. So if you want a sharp change of direction, you go and click and drag, and let's just say I'm going to do this up here. Click and drag, holding the click, I hit the Option key, and it allows me to move this handle independently, and I can change direction, and then I can continue with my drawing. Click, smooth click, click and drag, Option key while holding the click, Option key, pull it back. There's my circle. I'll click and I'll complete my shape. Now, it's not quite perfect. It doesn't look exactly the same, and that's why we get this image here. We have this image here so we can use it as a template. It's not perfect, but it gives us the rough shape that we're looking for. And so if I hit Command Y or Control Y, you see that it's nothing more than a photograph. If we draw with the pen tool, however, we are going to create a vector mathematic language that is going to be read by machines that produce embroidery, laser cutting, and vinyl cutting as well. So right here I'm clicking and I'm dragging, but I need a change of direction, so I hit the Option key and pull it in the direction I'm going next. Now this always serves as a sort of a trajectory. So if I click here, it's going to allow the line to go out and then come back around. So I'm going to click right here and see if I can get that done with an economy of anchor points, because that's the name of the game in Illustrator, is you want to try to get away getting a lot with a little. White arrows selected. I can go in here and see the pencil isn't perfect. So I'm getting a little bit of inconsistency with the pen. It's not picking up everything that the pencil did exactly, but that's because the pen tool is more precise. So again, I'm using this as a template, but I'm not going to do it exactly. I'm going to realize that there's some waviness due to the pencil lead that was on the paper, and perhaps it was smaller, so when I zoomed it in, I got a lot of inconsistency. So I have the pen tool. I can come and check this, put the pen tool and hover over this. Nothing shows up except for this symbol here, but that doesn't mean anything except that I can continue with my drawing. So I'm going to click and drag here, holding the click, Option key, pull the handle, and aim it at the direction I need to go next. this way. And when I come here, I get the circle. That means that I'm going to conclude this. And white arrow is, again, Command key. And I can pull this in a little bit. And I would say that that's pretty close. I'll go and choose this chartreuse color and no stroke. I can get rid of it here. I can get rid of it here as well. So if I had that there, I can go and get rid of it here. And then I can click here to bring this in the front if I want to change the color. So now let's compare and contrast what the Nike logo looks like originally and then after. Let's zoom in. You can see the pixels. We're zoomed into 17,551%. Command 0 or Control 0. And then if we zoom in to the same degree on this, you can see that we are at 18,930%, and there isn't any quality change. That's the difference between raster, or in other words, pixel-based artwork, versus vector-based artwork. And if I hit Control or Command Y, actually, Control or Command Y, you can see that this is the photograph of the Nike swoosh, and my Nike swoosh is indicated with my vector anchor points that can be read mathematically in order to have machines communicate and to execute recreations of this in silk screen, vinyl cutout for stickers, embroidery for stitching on hats, or monograms for clothing perhaps, logos on clothing, etc. So that's the difference, and that's what we're going to get started on and understand as I take a screenshot here, that the pen tool is going to take some time, okay? Be patient, but once you get it down, you'll never look back and you'll be thankful that you learned it the right way.